All right, it has been 72 hours at least, and we're going to grab our rabbit out of our pickle bath and show you the next steps in the tanning process. So we have our pickle bath. It's a very messy workshop. Been busy all day. Got all of our stuff hanging up here to salt. So we're going to take our rabbit, take it out, and at this point we're just going to make sure we get all the little bits of flesh off that we didn't get off of the hide earlier. So if you look here, you can see there's little bits of meat, but the rest are nice and bright white. So all we're going to do is work at getting, we can use our fingers, we can use our knife, and we're just going to carefully work off any bits that we didn't get earlier. So I can use my knife here. So last time I did it on a table, you can also do it on your knee with a towel. Just be really careful not to cut into the hide and make holes. Think of some bunny jokes, some rabbit jokes. I don't know many rabbit jokes. So again, I'm not cutting into the hide, I'm cutting alongside of it. You can tell this is more meat than after we now if you take extra time at the very beginning, then you may even just be able to skip this whole step if you get it perfectly fleshed. Sometimes it's hard to get perfect, so, or fairly perfect, but the main thing is you just want to get off the meat or any fat. So let's see if we can pull it a little bit. So I'm pulling that layer off carefully. You can pull too deep and you can make a hole in it, because you're pulling off one layer. Really careful. Alright, so I just gotten off anything else. I made a little hole right here, but it's not too bad. Right, so we're just going to throw that in our pickle back overnight again, and then the next morning we will move on to the next step where we're going to neutralize it and then tan it. So put it back in the pickle, so all the pieces of skin that you've taken off, all the pickle can get back into the skin. And that's that step. I'm tired. A lot of beavers. On to step 6. It is time to take our rabbit skins out of the pickle and neutralize them. So we have pickled our skins, we've taken off every extra little bit of fat and flesh, and we're going to make our neutralization bath, which is 1/3 cup of baking soda. This will bring the pH of the pickled skins back. It'll lower it, or increase the pH, and it will make it more neutral. So 1/3 cup of baking soda for 1 gallon of water. So I have my gallon of water already. I add my baking soda, and we're gonna take 2 tablespoons or a 1/4 pound of salt. So 1, 2, and we're gonna stir. Now, this is the fun part. This is the science. When we add our acidic rabbit skins to a very basic baking soda solution, what do you think happens? Anybody guess? Let's see. So we're gonna take our skins. You can drain them or you can just kind of squeeze them dry. Very cold. And stick them in here. I'm gonna do both of them because we're kind of doing 2 at the same time. We're gonna add them in here, and we're gonna leave them in this neutralization bath for half hour, an hour, and as you notice it will start bubbling. That's the reaction with the acid and the baking soda. So what it is, again, it's bringing the pH of it back up to more of a neutral pH. The tan won't absorb into the skin if it's if it's straight from the pickle bath and you try to tan it. This tan needs to be more of a neutral or slightly higher pH than neutral. So we're gonna stir it up, leave it in here to soak for about an hour, and just keep on stirring it maybe a couple times during that time. And then we'll come back to step number 7. Okie dokie, it's time for the next step. We've had our rabbits in the neutralization bath. So the next thing we need to do is grab a towel and our Trubond 1000B. So, if you come look, the rabbits are almost foamy because the baking soda has brought the pH of it up. I think it's pretty cool. That's the science I was talking about. So what we're going to do is take our skin out. I'm going to do this one. And we're going to get as much water out as we can. Now, if this is a big animal like a sheep, you can put the whole skin in the washing machine on the spin cycle. Don't wash it, don't agitate it, just put it in the water and use the spin cycle. Otherwise, you can hang it up to dry, or you can, as I'm going to do, put it in a towel. So what we're doing is just drying. You can even put it fur side out. So you want to dry out the skin a little bit. When it's soaking wet, so go like this, then roll it. You're just soaking up the extra moisture from the skin because you want the skin to be a little bit dry and kind of ready for the tan to soak in. Kind of like the skin is thirsty for the tan. So I'm just soaking up some of the extra water. Now that dries out the hair a little bit, I'm going to bring it back skin side out. And we're going to do the same thing. Dry out the skin a little bit. Alright, so now skin is slightly tacky. It's not soaking wet, and we can put on the tan. So this is step number 7. So the tan it has an oil in it, so that's why it separates. So you need to make sure you shake it really well. Mix it all up. If it's really cold, then maybe you want to warm it up in the microwave or something to make sure it's mixed well, but this changes the color of it. So now we open it up. What we're going to do is we're going to just rub. This is called paint on tan. So what you're doing is literally rubbing it in the skin. I'm just going to put a little bit. Now you don't really have to measure it out, but you want to rub it in. And you're going to be rubbing it in every part of the skin. So give it a good massage. So you see how it kind of soaks in? So I'm doing it here, and I'm going to do it up here. I'm going to flip it over into the other side. So if you have really thick-skinned animals, like elk or moose, or could be like an older sheep that has quite thick of a skin, you can do 2 layers. So after this one is soaked in, then you can put another layer. But for rabbits, 1 layer is definitely enough. So we go like that. We're gonna flip it over. Do this side. So Trubond has the tanning solution and like kind of an oil in the same mixed in here. So that the oil helps keep the skin soft. There's also another oil that we add that I like to add. You don't have to, but it makes a better product after this tan has soaked in. So we're gonna massage it in. Right. Make sure everything's covered. Missing anything. And now we can hang it up to start drying out. So my drying area is pretty full here, but we're going to drape it over here and let it start drying out. As it starts to dry out, like when this is soaked in, but before it starts to really dry, we're gonna come back and we're gonna put our Stretch 2000 on it, and that will help do another layer of kind of like an oil layer on the skin. So until then, happy tanning. Alrighty, we're back, and this is the last step of our tanning a rabbit with our Trubond kit. So this is Stretch 2000, and it's the last step that we do. It's the oiling step. So we're going to take our rabbit that's been hanging for a couple hours drying out, and the tan is all soaked in. It's starting to dry out a little bit, but it's not crunchy yet. So I'm gonna take a table or sit down. We're gonna apply, just like our tan, we're gonna apply a layer of oil. Shake it up. Do the same thing. We're just going to rub it in. If it looks a little different than the tan, so this really helps with animals that have a thick skin, but you can also use this with something that has been tanned previously but is hard and not soft. You can wet the entire skin and then do the oiling step if it's been previously tanned, which is pretty cool. So as this dries, the tan will soak into the skin, and it creates very easy ability for us to stretch the skin and to keep it soft. So that side is all rubbed in. Flip it over. The other side. with this, after it's all been oiled, we're going to hang it back up to dry, and it'll continue to dry for the next few hours. And every about 12 hours, come over, and as it's drying, you're going to be stretching the skin. And I'll show you how to do that. So you want to be in a place that has airflow, like a fan or dehumidifier, to allow the skin to dry out. Don't have somewhere that gets super duper hot, like you're not trying to dry it out with a hair dryer, right? You just want to have airflow. So that's, oil has been put into that skin, and we're going to hang it back up to dry. It just sits there till it's dry, and in about 12 hours, so that'll be in the morning, I'll come back and I'll stretch it and I'll show you what it looks like for that. Okay? So as we keep coming back and pulling our rabbit skin every 12 hours or so, it will start getting softer and softer and start drying out more and more. So this rabbit hide, right here, it's quite soft. I've pulled it. Right here, if you look closely, when I pull it, it'll become whiter. So that is the fibers being pulled and broken up, which is what makes a hide soft. If you don't pull it at all, it will become stiff. So, see, this didn't get very white. It's because it's still a little bit wet. So I can pull it like this. So this is the difference of what a tan hide looks like if you get it right to the skin. And this is what a tan hide looks like if you still leave a little bit of that membrane on there. It still tans, it just doesn't look quite as clean. So I'm pulling it all over in all directions. So I want to show you with this gray rabbit, because you can really see the color change. So this is gray on the back because it's a gray-haired rabbit. So as I pull, you watch, it turns white. So that's how you know that your fibers are being pulled and breaking, and it'll stay soft. So as this dries, keep pulling it. See? This part is a little crunchy already, but as I pull it, that looks cool. It stays soft. So once you have your whole rabbit and it's dried out and you've pulled it, and then go ahead and you take it out. You can take a hair dryer even, and you want to make sure this is all extra dry. Sometimes if your hide is taking a long time to dry out, it's because your hair is wet. The hair side is wet. So I flip it around to let the air dry out the hair side, which will let it dry out the skin side. After this, when it's all tanned and it's all dried out, you can comb it, and your hide will be preserved forever. If you find that over time it gets a little stiff because you stored it flat or something, you can just take your hide and work it again and break those fibers a bit again, and it will go soft again. So that is it. That is how you tan a rabbit hide. You can do that with any animal, like beaver, coyote, anything with hair on. And the same steps are the same for any animal. And you can start making some really awesome things with your very own tanned animals. All right, thanks so much for watching. Hope you learned something.